Okay, I hope I'm live right now, and I hope that everyone can hear me. Is that my, okay, yeah, there's some audio there, it says, okay. I'm still learning how this whole YouTube live thing works, but today I'm covering a postural therapy warm-up routine for sports like golf, disc golf, tennis, pickleball, anything where you're rotating along using your spine as the axis of rotation. And as we know, there are lots of common injuries with those types of sports: tennis elbow, herniated discs, rotator cuff damage, all types of things that happen to people when you're trying to work on things like this or trying to play these types of sports. And we're going to be using just a few pieces of equipment today. I'm going to have 2 yoga blocks that I'll be using later. I have this strap that I'll use for a few different exercises throughout. And you're going to want an exercise bench or some type of chair, couch, ottoman, something that allows you to get into what we call the static back position. Now, I will be looking at the chat stream periodically throughout when I'm not in between exercises. If you have a question, put it there, and once I see it, I will address that question. So to get into static back position, first thing we do is you want something where the bench height or the ottoman height, whatever it is, lets you have both your hips at a 90-degree angle and your knees at a 90-degree angle, meaning I don't want my knees bent up like this, and I don't want them bent down. So it's just be 90 here, 90 right there. And for this first exercise, or this is really a sequence of exercises in this position, I'm going to put on this strap around just above my knees, just like that. And then I want them to be right around hip width apart, so not a fist between the knees there. And we're going to be doing kind of a shoulder sequence in this position. I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes because it should take right around that long. Set a timer for 5 minutes. And
okay. 5 minutes and counting.
We're going to start with what's called the reverse press. I'm going to be doing 4 exercises in this sequence, but the whole time I'm going to be applying pressure to this strap, about 25 to 50% of my maximum strength. So we're not trying to really push it apart. We're just putting an even pressure for both legs, 25 to 50%, and then we're going to do 20 repetitions of these 4 exercises. This is the reverse press. It doesn't look like a lot's happening here, but I'm bringing my shoulder blades in and together. And I'll do 5. And what we're doing here is throughout this whole sequence, we're reducing compensations in the hip abductors and adductors for what's happening in the upper body. This is going to come into play in rotational sports where when you try to hunch over a little bit with your legs wide, sometimes people's shoulder blades can't come together properly. So that's what, or just their shoulders can't function properly in general. So that's what this series of exercises is accomplishing. I'm going to cut it a little bit short just so you're not watching me do too much without talking. Next is going to be the pullover position. And remember, this whole time I'm keeping constant pressure on the strap. I interlace my fingers, put my hands up together, and just through this 90-degree range of motion. And this is, again, addressing proper shoulder function and reducing compensations in the hips, while also promoting thoracic extension. So this is going to help you, like in golf, when you are hitting an iron or a driver, really, and you're stooped over at the waist, but you should still have that S curve in the spine. What I see a lot when I'm on the golf course is people who bend over and their spine rolls into that C shape. And that is what we're really preventing with this whole sequence. So that's enough there. Next, I'm going to do what's called arm glides. So I'm just going to put my arms out 90 degrees at the shoulder, 90 degrees at the elbows. I'm going to stretch out these fingers, and I'm just going to rotate my shoulder blades. And bring the fingertips together the whole time. I'm not just letting these fingers relax. I'm keeping them actively stretched, pulled apart, and extended. So I'll do 20 there, while of course keeping constant pressure on that strap. And once I've done 20 there, I'm going to go into elbow curls. I like to take off my glasses for this. So for elbow curls, we do what's called this golfer's grip. You can see I've got my thumbs at 90 degrees, got my fingers bent in, but I'm actively pulling back along the forearm here. And then I'm going to put them in line with my ear. So this brings the arm and the shoulders, elbows, and wrists into one horizontal plane here. And then I'm just going to do this. But now notice what I'm not doing. I'm not curling my fists in. I'm keeping this lengthened position along the back of my hand the whole time. And I would do 20 of these. And this is reteaching your shoulder how to operate properly as a hinge. So protracting and retracting the shoulder blades. Then, let's see, because I've been talking, I think I've been going a little bit faster or too slow. But you would do 20 of each of those 4 exercises. So quick recap, it's those reverse presses where I'm putting light pressure, a very loose fist here with my elbows, and just bring the shoulder blades in and together. Then I did those pullovers with my hands interlaced and just 90 degrees of motion here. Then I did those arm glides with this position, holding these fingers stretched apart and extended, bring them up to the touch. And then I did the golfer's grip with the elbow curls here. Just bring those elbows as close together as you can. And that was 5 minutes right there. So let's stop the timer. And of course, throughout the whole time, I'm applying constant pressure to that strap. Next is, I better bring up my little cue here, just so make sure I'm doing this right. Because it is kind of a long sequence. So I forgot to have this ready. I had to restart my computer just before this to get the camera to work. So let me go to my Google Drive real quick. Sorry about this, guys. And not to open e-size menus. Okay. And I'll check to see if there's any questions yet. No questions. I don't even know. Probably no one's watching even. All right, it's almost loaded here. Should have had this open already, but that's what happens. Okay, so now we are going into the rotational portion of this sequence. We are going into the hip crossover stretch. Let me go back so I can see myself here. Okay, hip crossover is fairly simple exercise. You're going to start in this hook line position here. Hook line means that I have got my knees at 90 degrees, feet hip width apart, and for the hip crossover, this is a palms flat position. So I'm going to rotate my hands out or down so that the palms are touching the floor. I'm going to actively be pressing into the floor just a tiny bit. I'm going to take this angle and place it directly on top of the knee. And from here, I'm going to press this knee towards you guys, towards the camera, away from my body, and I'm going to drop it down. Now notice what happens here. I move the entire lower body as a unit. I am not letting that knee drop to the floor. It stays in place, in line with that ankle, so that lower leg is not touching the floor. I push this on the side here. And I typically hold this for 30 seconds to a minute, depending on what I feel happening in my body. I can just get, I've been doing it long enough, I can tell when I'm not going to get any more benefit from it that given day. But what you should feel is a good activation along the back side or the outside of the thigh here, and a nice stretch up through the spine and the hips. And so I would hold that for as long as I need to, 30 seconds to a minute typically. And then we always want to balance out the body. We do the same thing on the other side. Place the ankle on top of the knee. Do it. Oh, I forgot on the other side. I forgot to mention anything. You always lift up the head, rotate, and put it back the other way. I may have been talking and forgot to do that on the first part. I can't remember, but we're rotating throughout the entire spine and hips here. And of course, we're keeping it active, pushing that knee against or away from the body. And we'd hold that for a few minutes, 30 seconds to a minute. And this portion of the warm-up routine is really focusing on, again, evening out the pelvis and the femurs, but also getting rotation up through the hips. So now that I've just rotated the hips a good degree, I'm going to go into what's called a hip lift. So for hip lift, actually, let me do this side first. Hip lift, it was going to start in that same position as the hip crossover, but then I'm just going to, I think you'll see this better from this angle actually. So I'm going to lift up the leg to a 90-degree angle and again, push this knee away from the body. Very similar motion of the lower body, but now we're adding a component of hip flexor strengthening. And this is going to help reduce pelvic disparities and prepare us for the next stretch. So I would hold this for 30 seconds to a minute. If you're having trouble doing this exercise, it can be pretty difficult if your hip flexors aren't very strong. I have a video, if you search my channel, for hip lift. And in that video, I cover what's called an assisted hip lift where you do it against the wall. So be sure to check out that video if you're curious about that exercise. Another reason you would want to do that is if you're having trouble keeping this lower leg parallel to the floor. If this lower leg wants to droop or if it wants to stick up, you would want to do the assisted hip lift. And I would hold that again for 30 seconds to a minute on each side. And this is a hard exercise to do while talking because you really want to keep the belly as relaxed as possible. And when I'm talking, I tend to tighten up at seams. So normally, if I wasn't talking and explaining, I'd be doing some like deep belly breathing. So and that helps keep the belly relaxed. So we would do that for about the same amount of time on each side. Then we get into what's called a QLO stretch. Now, QLO stretch, this is a little bit of a more difficult stretch. Let me see, where's a good place so you can see me. I think that'll work here. You want to start with your legs spread out wide. Now look at my feet position. I'm not letting my legs rotate outwards. I'm keeping my toes tucked toward the body, so not even letting them flop forward. They're tucked towards the body. I'm tightening the thighs, and I am making them point straight towards the ceiling, making the feet point up there. Now, you should skip this stretch if you can't maintain an arch in your lower back, meaning if you have to sit like this, go ahead and skip this one for now. But if you are able to get into this vertical position and maintain a curve in the lower back from here, you're going to reach straight towards the ceiling with both arms. Then you're going to reach down, tuck this lower arm against the knee. And I'm going to push against the knee here, against the leg, to rotate this upper body so that both my shoulders are in vertical alignment. I'm actively pushing here to rotate while maintaining that dip or arch of my lower back, and then I'm going to reach both of these hands towards that knee that's extended. I would hold that for about 30 seconds, come out of it slowly. Don't jerk out of that position. And then do the same thing on the other side. Drop the right arm, tuck it against that knee, push it, and pull along the back to pull those shoulders into a vertical position. And again, the whole time I'm doing my best to keep those thighs tight, toes pulsed toward me. When I'm talking, I'm probably letting that slip. It takes a lot of concentration to do that. And those feet pointing towards the ceiling. And you're really going to feel this, and it's called the QLO for the quadratus lumborum muscle. That's the main muscle, or the muscles around it that we're stretching. And we hold that, come out of it slowly again. Oh, yeah, it feels good in the neck. I forget my water. I guess I forgot my water outside. Next, let me double check what we're looking at here. Yeah, upper spinal floor twist. Okay, so again, continuing with this theme of rotation through the hips up to the shoulders via the spine is the upper spinal floor twist. And for this one, we're going to lay on our side with the, let's see, this is the way to see it. Yeah, I think it is. I'm going to make sure that my knees stay stacked right over another while I'm going through this exercise. And to help with that, I'm going to hold this upper leg. And I'm going to make sure that my hips and my knees stay as close to 90 degrees throughout the whole exercise. Now from here, I'm going to reach out with my upper hand. I want to stretch out these fingers. And now watch closely what happens in the upper body. First, I rotate from the lumbar spine. And you see that I hope you can see that my neck and my arm are moving as a unit, meaning I don't move one unless I move the other. Holding down here to keep everything stacked. Now I'm rotating through the thoracic spine, again keeping my neck and my arm moving in conjunction. And then I start rotating the neck and rotate the arm as far as I can. Now, if you've got tightness in the spine, you may get stuck up here, somewhere else. You just always want to maintain this neck arm position. So I don't move either one without moving the other. And we're also not just letting it fall. We are maintaining this active lift throughout here. And that leverage is what helps get the rotational stretch throughout the spine. When you get to wherever your maximum is, you can hold it for a few breaths here. Do a tight fist. Take a few breaths there. Then expand the fingers again. Let them rotate. And eventually, over time, if you do this on a consistent basis, you'll be able to get to more rotation throughout the other side. Now, we're going to do that on the left side as well. So here, rotating the neck and the arm, the whole upper body is a unit. Rotating the lumbar spine first, rotating the thoracic spine, finally rotating the cervical spine. This going between fingers and fists really can help loosen up actually a lot of stuff down here in your abdominals and your obliques, things like that, because you've got fascial tissue that goes all the way down through your arms to your pelvis. And then you come out of it the same way, just like that. Okay, so next we are looking at foot circles and point flexes. Okay, so foot circles and point flexes. I'm going to start in the supine position. If you have trouble with the supine position, I have a video about doing these in the static back position, that first position we were in. You can do that. So from here, you can use a strap if you want to around your legs, or just hold it like this, whichever you prefer. Just notice what I'm doing with this foot here. I'm not letting it droop out. I'm not letting this foot, the ankle, go into plantar flexion. I'm actively holding it in dorsiflexion towards my head. And then I'm keeping this lower leg here parallel to the floor. Meaning it's not drooping, it's not up here, it's parallel to the floor. And then I'm going to do 10 slow rotations of the ankle here. And this is really going to help with, obviously, ankle stability. It can help reduce the tendency to get rolled ankles. It can help reduce compensations up through the hips. I would do 10 slowly in one direction, 10 slowly in the other direction. And it should be like 2 full seconds or so for each revolution. I'm not even going a little bit fast, but I'm trying to demonstrate a whole bunch of exercises here in a relatively short period of time. That should be around 10. Now, there is another component that I'll go back to on that leg, but I like to do the rotations and then the points and flexes. So then I grab this leg, do 1. I hear lots of pops and cracks while you're doing this. And again, the whole time I am focusing on keeping this thigh tight to keep that knee extended and keeping that foot pulled up towards me in dorsiflexion. So let's say that's close to 10. That's like 7, but we'll call it there. Then get to the plantar flexion. 1. So this, I'm just pointing my foot and toes and then bringing them up as well. So we're working the ankle through its entire range of motion with this exercise. I would do 10 there, and then go back to this leg and do 10 more here. Okay. So that's 10 there. Again, I'm going a little fast just to get through this for you guys. Next is floor blocks. And so floor blocks, this is where the yoga blocks come into play. And you're going to sit way down, completely flat. I'm a little bit too tall to get my whole body in frame here, I think. But you're going to need this whole range of motion from here all the way out. I'm not going to hold this for the full time because it's just a static stretch. I'm going to show you the proper form. So you can see my toes are touching, meaning that my femurs are rotated in. I'm laying in a pigeon toe position. I'm going to let my lower back arch. I've got a video with full explanations on this. You can check out that. I'm doing that same golfer's grip from the elbow curls we did at the beginning, where I'm pulling back here, fingers bent, thumbs at 90 degrees. And then I would put my forearm or my forehead on the floor here. And I'll be actively rotating these femur or these shoulders out like this. I'll do a minute there. Then I would go to the 10 and 2 position. I would do a minute here, again, holding these hands in golfer's grip, thumbs pointing directly towards the ceiling. I would do a minute there, and then I'd take them to where my arms are pointing straight up to the sides. This is the most difficult part of the stretch, keeping these thumbs in golfer's grip, pointing directly towards the ceiling. Again, I do a minute here. And what we're really doing here is promoting a bunch of thoracic extension, the ability to stay completely upright throughout the entire upper body, letting the back relax. And we get this, so we're on our keyboard so much, we're holding our phone so much with our shoulders rotated in. This is getting the shoulders to be able to go into external rotation, getting the scapula to come together. That's what we're really working on here. So that would be the floor block exercise. Next, we are going to go into modified floor block. So this is obviously going to be fairly simple, but now we're incorporating the strap as well. Are fairly similar.
Could you try again?
This is going to be fairly similar to the previous exercise, but a modified position. So I'm going to put this strap around my ankles. This is modified floor block with ankle abduction. So I'm going to put that around the ankles so that my ankles are roughly hip width apart. Tighten it quite a bit. And getting into that similar position, but this time these blocks go out to the side. I'm going to keep my elbows bent at 90 degrees. Like this, just let the wrist hang. I'm going to put my forehead down when I get into the exercise, but with a lower body, I'm going to lift those knees to 90 degrees. I'm going to press against that strap with about 50% of my strength, and I would hold this for anywhere between 1 to 3 minutes. So it'd just be with my head down like this, letting the lower back relax, letting the entire upper body relax, and just pressing on that strap. Breathing deeply the whole time helps as well. Now, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and make you do this for 3 minutes. After I do this exercise, I would stay in this position, but I would do 3 sets of 10 hamstring curls, again with my forehead on the floor. Actively pressing that strap and working those hamstrings through 90 degrees of motion. And I would do 3 sets of 10 of those modified floor block hamstring curls with strap. That's the mouthful name of that exercise. After this, getting close to done here, there's only one more, kneeling counter stretch. I actually just released a video about this exercise yesterday. But this is a great exercise for continuing this theme of thoracic extension and shoulder blade work here. From here, I'm going to start on my hands and knees, about 18 inches away from this block, or from this bench here, so that when I reach forward, my palms reach it, maybe just a little bit of my wrist to give you more support, but my palms are going to go flat here. Now let's look what I'm going to be doing in the lower body, or the lower back. I'm going to keep this pelvis tilted forward, so I have this accentuated curve in the lower back. When I get that curve there, reach up, and then keep on letting that curve go in the lower spine. I'm not punching back on the hips. I'm not going forward. Those hips stay directly above my knees. And I just put this extension stress on my shoulders, inflection. So it's actually quite difficult to do, especially for bigger guys like me. But I would hold that for 30 seconds to a minute. And again, this is my personal preferred warm-up for when I want to go golfing. I want to play disc golf, or if I were to do any sports like even like ping pong, things like that. If you're looking for a good warm-up for tennis, pickleball, handball, any of these things where you're rotating, even if you're doing a batting practice, things like that, this would be a great stretch or a great postural warm-up routine to get. We worked on everything here. We did a lot of work with the hips and the shoulders in the first part of this routine. We did a lot of work with rotation throughout the hips, spine, and shoulders with the middle portion of the routine. And then with the last portion of the routine, we were really focusing on reducing any disparities left to right through the shoulders down to the ankles, because we did those floor block exercises, then we did the modified floor block with the strap, then we did the hamstring curls. So we really worked through every major joint of the body, and we leave the body in neutral with this last kneeling counter stretch. So that's it. I don't see any questions on the chat. If you like this video, please consider subscribing. If you know people who are having trouble playing things like golf or tennis or any of these rotational sports, please consider sharing this video with them. See anything else? No, I think that's good. You can, if you're watching this at a later date, be sure to drop comments down if you have any questions. I'll get back to it. I'll also post some links in the description to some of these exercises that I did that I have full videos about. My name is John Clark with the Posture Pain Connection. I hope you have a functional and pain-free day. But if you don't, be sure to contact me. Okay. Now, how do I end this stream? Oh, there we go, right here.